Hello, Jeff Zwarenk here, and welcome back to Give and Take, the segment of our show where we explore important scientific ideas and how they relate to the truth of Christianity. And today I'm excited because we got Jim Painter in studio, and we get to ask the question, what is it that constitutes a healthy diet? Jim, it's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to have you on the show. I know you've got a wealth of background in nutrition. I know you're a registered dietitian. You've got some academic, you're an adjunct faculty at the University of Texas. You've worked in the corporate world, working with Dole and Sun-Maid Raisin.
Right.
You have some government consulting work with the National Dairy Council and the American Heart Association. So I'm just kind of excited to hear what expertise you bring and what you have to say to us. And so I guess I'll just throw this question out. Is eating a healthy diet, why is it that that's important?
Well, you know, for most Americans and most people that are naturalists, they just want to keep this machine going as long as possible because when it's done, they're done. And then a lot of people want to be, pretty. I want my flesh to look better than everybody else's flesh. And so pretty is part of it. But really, for us as Christians, it's really commanded of us in 1 Corinthians 6:18, do you not know your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit? Are you kidding me? That's amazing. The temple of the Holy Spirit, who is given to us by God, we are not our own. We've been bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body. Man, what a commission that we need to take care of this because it's where God lives.
Well, that's an interesting idea because it really does place, not that we're solely physical beings, but God really does care about the physical. And I mean, if you go back and read the Old Testament, what went on in building the temple, that was a spectacular place. It was kind of the crown of the civilization, if you will. And so the idea that we're the crown of God's civilization where he dwells is, so it really does say, okay, this is important. So
very important.
So given that it's important, this is kind of the question I have. There are 12 million different diets out there. All of them seem to be, this is the greatest.
Right.
And they're largely conflicting with one another.
Right.
So what is a Christian? How am I supposed to deal with that?
It's a hard thing in life to find truth. It's the goal. We want to know truth. And so I've been off in dishes so much in my scientific career, especially 40 years ago. And so you look at the two different diets. There's the Atkins and the Ornish. There's some people that say it's paleo. No, it's the animal products that are good. And you look at vegans, say no, it's the animal is bad. It's the natural that's good. And then you look at high fat, and Atkins says no, you have to have high fat and high animal. And Ornish is over here saying no animal and no fat. Those are the two biggest diets out there, and they conflict, it looks like, in everything, which is very frustrating for me as a nutritionist, and they all have good data that they seem to work.
So it's not, so the data doesn't say one or the other is
Not
better,
really.
quote unquote. So you can have lots of animal products with a lot of fat, you can have no animal products, very little fat, and both seem to have a healthy aspect to them?
They do, and so my question was, is there something that makes all of them the same? Because they keep looking at these things that are different. And I thought, wait a minute, they're just pointing to things they think that's making the difference. So I started looking at that saying, what is it that makes all of them work and all of them different than normal? They all don't practice the standard American diet, the SAD diet. And what is the SAD diet? The SAD diet is strictly 55% highly processed. So we've got all these foods we eat, and they're almost all highly processed. I go down the beach at South Padre where I live, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people, and they're all eating chips and cookies and pretzels and things, and they're drinking sodas. And I'm thinking, that's all day long. They're not getting a real food. They're just getting it. So what if the reason they all work is they just eat whole foods?
Okay, so the highly processed, so what distinguishes a whole food from a highly processed food?
That's actually a good point, because highly processed, in the literature that we've looked at, it's flavors, textures, colors that make it look like something it's not. And generally those things are low in fiber, low in nutrients, low in fiber nutrients, high in sugar.
Okay.
And so they kind of go together. When you highly process something, you take out most of the nutrients and you usually add sugar, maybe fat, some salt. And so it isn't the way God designed it. So people would ask me, you've been studying this how long? 40 years. And the only thing you can come up with is, well, the big thing is eat whole foods.
At some level as a Christian, that just doesn't surprise me at all. I
No.
mean, if God created animals, God created the plants.
Right.
In some sense, eating those as close to what he did is probably what's best for us. And that kind of seems to be what you're saying there.
It does. I mean, intuitively, we would say that. And so not only are we not eating these highly processed foods, but I started looking at what does everybody agree on? The high-fat, low-fat people, the animal, the vegetable people. What do they agree on? They all agree on the basis of the diet should be good plant foods. Even people that are meat eaters. Atkins, when he started this 75 years ago, told people eat 5 servings of vegetables, the non-starchy vegetables every day from the beginning all the time. And it's just we didn't do that. But if we go back to the Bible and look at Genesis 1:29, it says, every herb bearing seed, this should be food for you. And so in the trees that bear, this is what we're supposed to eat, these plant foods. And everybody agrees. And what does everybody not do? They don't eat the green leafy things that they're supposed to eat. And if you look at all the
those don't taste any good, Jim. I mean, no, I'm joking. They are kind of an acquired taste, but yeah.
I had for years on the low-fat diet, suffered with grilled vegetables. Well, what do you eat? They're grilled vegetables. I put on Mrs. Dash and butter buds. That was delicious and buttery. And so when I found out we were wrong about this whole low-fat diet and you can put fat on things, fat makes things taste good. And so now I tell people, sauce it up. Just cover it with sauce. I mean, if you can't get a kid to eat a piece of broccoli, just smother it in ranch dressing until it's dripping off and then just eat it. And they ate a piece of broccoli. And so we thought that fat was bad. We took it out. We made things unpalatable. And now I'm back to the point of make it cheesy, make it saucy, cover it up so that people will eat vegetables that somewhat are unpalatable. I mean, I don't eat a salad with nothing on it. I put ranch dressing on it. It doesn't have much sugar in it. It's made with whole food, and I eat it, and it's tasty, but it has to be dressed. Nobody eats a honeymoon salad. Lettuce alone. Lettuce alone.
But even in that, there's kind of this. I grew up was in an era there where fat's bad, we got to avoid that.
Right.
But a lot of those fats, things you're talking about are cheeses and milks and stuff that is actually pretty close to what God produced, if you will. And so the idea that using those in concert with eating the vegetables makes it taste good and healthy. That's actually a winning combination in my book.
It just makes sense, We were on this low-fat thing for so long, and we just said dairy fat's bad, cheese is bad, and I've looked at it enough now that I have 24 studies in the last 5 years that just exonerate fat in dairy. So we would look at components of things and found out they were bad and assume the foods they were in were bad. And so you look at dairy and it has these fats, it's bad. Yeah, but we didn't look at these other fats, and when you eat the whole food, it isn't bad.
I got to say, it's just remarkable and in some sense very much not surprising that what God created for us to eat is actually going to be healthy for us to eat. So really appreciate your comments. Thanks for being on the show today, Jim. When we look at the Bible, it does talk about what we're supposed to eat and how we are our bodies are valuable because God comes and dwells in us. And to me, it's not at all surprising that what God has made for us to eat, that when we eat that's where we're healthy. So I would encourage you to go to reasons.org, search for Jim Painter, and you'll get a lot of other videos and some articles that help you explore more about how we can know the diet that God's put here before us, how that's healthy, and how we can use that to keep ourselves healthy so we can spread the gospel, but also so that we can go out and tell others about this glorious creation that God's given us to live in.